Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome along to Off the Ball AM. The Friday morning, the first Friday morning of the World Cup. We are up and running. A 5-0 thumping victory for Russia against Saudi Arabia yesterday. We're going to check in with Kev and Kilbane. But more importantly than that, we've got Kenny Cunningham with us in the studio. How the hell are you?
Yeah, all good, yeah, all good.
This World Cup, I mean...
Brazilian, is that technically Brazilian colours?
Yeah, is that... Yeah. Are you nailing
just noticed it there, literally just noticed it now. I do fancy him to win it, in all honesty. Them in France, I can't choose between them. I don't know if they're due to clash prior to the final, potentially, with the draw. No. Brazil and France. No, they could actually meet in the final, could they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're on opposite sides of the draw.
Yeah, those two, I think, I can't split them. Hardly kind of, sticking my neck out, like, but yeah, they're the two for me.
What about Spain and all the trouble that they've been having?
What about it?
Like, Kev said they were his
favourites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'll have a big detrimental effect. I've got to be honest with you. There's been mass hysteria.
The managers not matter. Like, what's the point of having an international manager? If they go and win this now, then I'm not listening to any manager talking crap before any matches ever again. It'd be like, no, I don't care. You're irrelevant.
But I think you have to look at the dynamic of the individual, the dressing room. And as we said before, this dressing room, it's a vastly experienced one. The kind of the spine of the team. PK, Ramos, Busquets, Iniesta in particular. I mean, they pretty much run the dressing room anyway. He has a good reputation, the manager. He's had a great run since he's been undefeated almost. But I don't think it'll be a huge factor in terms of how the team plays. I'll be very surprised. It's a well-oiled machine, that Spanish team.
That's why I don't see why they're not favourites in everybody's eyes then, because of the players that you've listed and because of David De Gea in goals. Because we all know Spain is so important in the World Cup. Keeping clean sheets is like, that should be your target number one in winning a World Cup. Obviously, you need to bang in a few goals, and having somebody like a Miroslav Klose to finish the ball off would be handy, and that is where Spain might fall down with Diego Costa and potentially with his temperament as well, given the free-for-all in the managerial setup. But I just don't understand why more people aren't tipping Spain to win the World Cup, even prior to the Lopetegui saga.
Yeah, well, I think experience is different though to having. There's one thing having an experienced side, but there's one thing having an experienced stroke, maybe Asian team, lacking maybe a little bit of energy and mobility in the team. So those kind of players that I've mentioned, Iniesta, as brilliant as he's been, we're huge fans of him. He's past his best. He's not playing at the level he was when he was at his peak. And as much as Ramos has a wonderful season, I never trust him. Ramos as a defender, still very rash. And Piqué is the same, wonderful footballer, but a 1v1 situation, certainly not the best defender in the world. Busquets, technically brilliant, but can't run. So yeah, vastly experienced team, but that's only one factor. You need to have real kind of pace and energy in the team. There's a little bit of that as well sprinkled around the team. And like I said, you can make a strong argument for them winning the competition. I've heard people make that argument, and I can understand it, but not for me. I still think they're a little bit short.
Okay, that's interesting that the manager hasn't made that much of a difference to how you feel about the team, but actually you didn't rate them as potential winners anyway because they don't have enough pace through the spine, and also they're not reliable enough. Is that a nice neat summation of everything you just said?
I wouldn't say that's exactly what I said, but let's go with it anyway.
Coming up on today's show, Michael Meehan is going to join us to help us to preview the Connacht football final, Galway against Roscommon and Hyde on Sunday afternoon. We'll also talk with Kev and Kilbane somewhere in Moscow. We don't know where he is.
It says Luzhniki on the sidebar. Like, if he's still in the stadium at this point, that would be remarkable.
Something's gone very well or very badly wrong. As well as that, we'll talk about the golf a little bit later on. We have an interesting story about the golf before we get into the newspapers. Kenny, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you're emotionally invested in Rory McIlroy?
I know. I feel a bit embarrassed now, to be honest with you. I'm borderline humiliated. I feel like a bit of a dope, let's be honest. I went into the bookies. I don't bet a lot, just very occasionally. And probably the big golf tournaments, I've always traditionally, like my father-in-law, we used to put a few shillings on, so I've kind of stumbled in there yesterday just before I got me flight over. I knew exactly who I wanted to bet on. I stay away from the favourites predominantly, so I was looking at the players with good price, 30, 40, 50 to 1, a la Patrick Reed in the Masters, as you well know, on. So I was getting a few names there, and all of a sudden I looked at the screen and I thought, bloody hell, McIlroy, 50 to 1. So I had to pull the fella over and I said, look, it's got to be a mistake. Rory McIlroy, 50 to 1. He went, no, I think, no, it's on the screen. I thought, has he fallen into a bunker, dislocated his shoulder or something? There must be can't be 50 to 1. I've got to get on him.
What
Gotta
time,
get on McIlroy 50-1.
what time of the day was this, Kenny?
Exactly. This was must have been about 2:30 in the afternoon.
By which point Rory McIlroy had already started his round with like
About 4 or 5 over.
No indication on the screen that he started his round or what score that he was. And the fella was literally looking at it thinking, I know, it's amazing, 50-1.
That's
a good price, isn't it? Reeling me in.
Best salesman
A couple
ever.
of shillings down.
employee of the week right there.
Disgusted. I was so excited. I bounced out of the shop. Bounced out. Thinking I got the, bargain of the century.
We're going to Disneyland, folks. That's the all right. Time for the newspapers.
OTB AM.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a dedicated call centre.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the Irish Independent, except I just don't have it at the moment. Oh, do you have it? Might it be? Oh, I do have it, yeah. So they're leading with McIlroy in the back of it there. McIlroy in no mood to talk after open crash. That's because obviously he shot an 80, his worst round ever in the US Open. Worst round ever, Kenny.
Don't rule him out.
Series defeat would spoil Grand Slam season, warns Joe Schmidt. I mean,
No, of course it wouldn't.
would a series defeat to Australia ruin a Grand Slam season?
Of course not. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
I think it's the manner. I think the manner of the defeat, I would think, and Jared, I think. When's the second test? Is it
Next, it's Saturday, and then the third test is so it's 3 Saturdays in a row,
Yeah.
and we're 1-0 down.
For me, it's always about performance. It's no look going to Australia and getting beat over the course of 3 tests. There's certainly no humiliation, but I think it's how you get beat on.
Yeah, it probably is, but like they would have to get absolutely walloped for everybody to look back and say the Grand Slam was some sort of fake moments. Like, how did Ireland get on the Summer Tour 2009? I don't remember. Does anybody remember how to get on in that?
No Summer Tour in 2009.
Well, okay, it was a Lions Tour. Good point. Yeah, I forgot about that. And obviously there isn't a big cultural reference when it comes to the other Grand Slams. The other one, I'm sure you won't,
1948.
I'm sure you
I
won't be
don't
able to tell me what happened on that occasion. But anyway, the point is that it doesn't matter. Like, the Grand Slam will be remembered regardless of what happens.
Yeah,
over the
it's
next
a
couple of
historic
weeks.
achievement because we do it so rarely. However, if the season is going to be ruined by losing the Test series at the end, according to the head coach, then why didn't you pick your best team for the first game?
But it's all about building, Jared, isn't it? It's all about building towards the World Cup, really, isn't it?
So then
It's
this
like
isn't true. Like,
Exactly.
you're right. Right? If that's the argument, is that I don't really give a shit about this Test series because so it won't ruin it, and it's he's just trying to ramp up the pressure on the players. Is that it to like go? Come on, go with it. You got to get with it.
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, that group of players has been the level that rugby they've been playing for the last couple of years has been ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean? I hardly think you got to take out the stick and start beating those players and start playing those psychological mind games with players of that quality. The level they've been playing it now. They'll be if their standards have dropped, don't even have to be reminded.
Let me explain a little bit better what I'm trying to say is that like this, if you've picked a team which is clearly not your first team for the first, and it's about building, then everybody is kind of going, well, does this matter as much as a World Cup quarter-final? So you're trying somehow to replicate the situation where it's a must-win game, and that's what this is about. It's not a stick to beat them, but it's like trying to create that sense of tension and pressure. Every team meeting is a big game team meeting this week, as opposed to, well, it's an end of season tour to Australia, and he's trying out some new players and new combinations, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. But your question, the kind of the application of the players there in terms of he needs to generate that kind of dynamic, that mindset, because players can't do it themselves, or they can't get themselves to that level where they can operate at the level which they need to, which invariably they have done over the past couple of years on a regular basis. And you're saying it's not a must-win game. Well, it isn't. It's all about building towards the World Cup. So the players realise the significance of the game. Yes, it's a game they want to win. I'm sure they want to keep that level of consistency. That's just personal, kind of a personal, collective pride which they'll have. But it's all about building, surely, in terms of what's coming down the road.
Yeah, like I also think that's you're both right. That's exactly what he's trying to do here, is just to send out a message to the squad. But was there any need to do this, given the fact that Jacob Stockdale and Sean Cronin had been ruthlessly axed from the squad? Okay, Stockdale has been kind of discussed with Alan Quinlan yesterday. It's not really a ruthless axing on the level of Sean Cronin, which is brutal the way he's been booted out of the squad. Stockdale was kind of a situation where, okay, we're going to give somebody else a run and we want somebody more of a utility back on the bench. But I think the team selection really sends out a message to everybody saying nobody's place is safe here, and you've got to be on your toes a little bit.
Yeah, or like I have people who I'm going to scapegoat for this, so beware, I could scapegoat you next. Like, Sean Cronin has been scapegoated for the loss of the scrum. The other two props who are on the field at that point are starting this week.
Is that a reputational thing, I wonder? Is it a reputational thing that something went wrong in the scrum in a game involving Sean Cronin, and Joe Schmidt thought to himself, right, Sean Cronin was involved, it must be him, rather than the other people whose reputation would suggest that they're some of the best scrummagers in the world? I don't know.
Certainly it seems like one individual has been selected for a systems failure where it's 8 people pushing in the scrum and he's not in the squad this week. As a matter of interest, right? If a team sport, you suffer a defeat and one person carries the can for that, what's the atmosphere like amongst your teammates in the immediate aftermath? Are you like, well, that's not very fair? Or are you kind of going, well, I better make sure it's not me? Or is it a bit of both?
It can be. It's interesting. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously Smith's closest to the players. He's on the training pitch. He's around them, so he can sniff, he can smell out any kind of, even the hint of a bit of complacency. He's the one best placed. And you might be right. It may be a case of that. He may be just sensing something. Maybe he just needs to crack the whip and maybe make an example of something. You've got to be careful though a little, because if the lads think that it's unwarranted and it's unjustified in what he's doing, that's a tight unit there. If they feel as if one of their players, one of their teammates is being hard done by, it can almost have the opposite effect. The lads might think, well, hold on, this is unfair. Well, I'm not happy with this. It might create a different type of dynamic in the squad that you're not kind of looking for. Maybe a bit of distance, a disconnect between the management, the manager and the players, which you don't want either. So you've got to be very careful. I certainly wouldn't criticise Smith. I would have thought, well, what's his reputation in terms of as a man manager, in terms of like the technical side of the game, how he sets the team up, how they play the rugby, but in terms of how he interacts with the players individually, the group dynamic, what's the...
Ruthless enough, I would have thought. Like, obviously we don't know. We'll probably know a lot better in a few years' time when like books have been written and things like that. But a ruthless approach is certainly the Joe Schmidt way, is what we've heard, and that has to be the way to achieve what he's achieved for sure. No loyalty is shown to any sort of player. Maybe on a level, maybe if you get somebody's level of like Johnny Sexton or something like that, you might be afforded a little bit more loyalty. But even then, it's kind of like whatever your performance is, whatever your form is, whatever you're showing on a data level, that's what they'll go with.
But on a personal level, like on a human level with the players, how does he interact?
We had Brian O'Driscoll in last week, and I was kind of asking him about, because famously Bill Belichick, if he bumps into you in the corridor, he'll stop you, and it's like an immediate quiz. It's like, with this play, what's going to happen in that one? In this situation, what are you playing? And he was like, oh Jesus. And it's not quite the same, but Brian O'Driscoll said, at dinner time, players aren't gravitating over to sit beside him and have a chat about rugby, because he's all rugby all the time. So you come down, I expect, and it's like, oh, there's the boss. I'm on the phone.
I think players appreciate. It's obviously one of the factors why they've got to the level that they have. That kind of meticulous approach, that kind of obsessive nature that the manager has. But for me, like, there has to be a bit of a cut-off point. You have to kind of park that at some point to be able to interact with your players on more of a human level. All right, how's it going? How's the family, kid? What are you up to? Boom, that type of thing. Yeah. That kind of dynamic works kind of better for me. That kind of pulls the players in even more so.
Especially long term, when you consider that the next World Cup is in Japan, everybody's going to be very far from home. It's not like you're going to be wandering out and kind of...
No, it's true. That comes back to the kind of environment, I suppose, you're looking to create around the players. And part of that is I think as a manager, is your persona, your personality, how you project yourself around the squad.
Well, one significant criticism of the team that has maintained is that they are still very pre-programmed, and even last week against an Australian team who had worked out what our main attacking threat was, they were a bit stuck. They kept doing the same stuff. We kept kicking the ball to Israel Folau, who is like considered to be the best player in the world at fetching high balls, and we kept doing the same thing, as opposed to...
That's been one of our strengths though, Jared, isn't it? For you know more than me in terms of, but surely that's been one of our strengths, how consistent that we are. We play our own way, and we're pretty ruthless, and we kind of we kind of wear teams down.
What Leinster have been able to do is to evolve from that point where it's far more the Stuart Lancaster's line has always been comfortable in chaos. So if there's chaos around, great, that's what we wanted. We wanted their defence to be unstructured, our attack to be unstructured, and everybody at that point feels like, okay, we've got an opportunity here, as opposed to with Ireland, it's like, oh, it's broken down, let's go again and do the same thing. And against the very best teams in the world, which we are now in Australia,
we've been beating the very best teams in the world the last couple of years, though, Jay, playing that type of rugby. Surely, though, it's hard to get off the back of one defeat to start like questioning the kind of.
But actually doing it
tactics.
in the Southern Hemisphere is an entirely different scenario. Like obviously we came so close to the series win in South Africa in 2016. The Australia win was in Dublin. The All Blacks win was in Chicago. I would certainly lend a lot more credence to the idea of going to the Southern Hemisphere and beating these teams. The converse of it at all is that it's technically not going to be in the Southern Hemisphere. It's not going to be in their own patch when it comes to 2019. It's going to be in Japan and it's neutral venue and all that.
Closer to there than us, though, right?
It is, yeah, geographically. So, I don't know, when it comes to the World Cup, it certainly seems that no matter where it's on, the Southern Hemisphere kind of hoodoo seems to prevail a little bit when it comes to Ireland. I don't know, it's like maybe all that is nonsense. Maybe it's going to be a completely different sort of environment for everybody come 2019.
That's the lead story in the back of the Times Ireland edition today. Schmidt, we cannot spoil our good run. And then obviously it's a picture of Denis Shurshyshev, who scored twice in the 5-0 win for Russia yesterday. Good goals in the game yesterday. Like,
Haven't seen him yet.
That's what you want.
I saw Robbie Williams belting out Angels before I left the house, and I thought, really?
Yeah.
Angels, is that the most appropriate? You know what I mean? Opening ceremony of it. Angels.
It's his biggest song.
I'm trying to think of the song. Does that eventually? It's like, it's not really, is it?
Well, it is one of his most famous songs.
It is, yeah. But in terms of kind of really vamping it up and getting everybody up, bouncing around the stadium.
The thing
Angels, really?
Well, I guess it is the year 2018, and that entire set could have been played in 2001. Really?
I wasn't sure about it. I caught a bit of it. I tell you, it looked a bit odd to me. Robbie Williams looked a bit odd there. That didn't.
I missed Robbie Williams, I'm not going to lie. It's like 10 to 4. I was like, I better stick this on. And caught about the 25 minutes of Vladimir Putin's speech, which lasted forever.
Yeah.
What the hell? Now, I couldn't hear it because the kids were screaming, but like, what was he even saying?
I'd have no interest in terms of what.
Was this really dull English translation? Yes, you are watching the World Cup in Russia. It will be good. I was like,
I drifted at that point. I just started scrolling through Twitter instead of actually watching the speech because the translation was so boring and what he was saying was so boring. But fair dues to Gianni Infantino for stepping up afterwards and keeping his speech concise in 2-3 minutes.
Did he? Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, he's in a rather compromising position, isn't he? He kind of seems like a man who's like, how the hell did I get here? Every single time he turns around, he's like, whoa, I'm beside two of the most powerful men in the world.
Yeah. Should I invest in oil? Is the price of oil going to go up or down, lads? What do you think?
Did I see a fist pump at some point before I left?
Between Putin and
Bin Salman. It's... Mohammed bin Salman,
if Putin offers you a fist bump in Russia, do you leave him hanging?
If anybody could, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia probably could. I would have thought for the reasons you've just said in terms of oil prices.
I'm not big into conspiracies when it comes to different superpowers in the world and their interest in certain wars. But I'm pretty sure Putin and bin Salman are on opposite sides of the war in Syria. If I'm not mistaken, there completely, and they're just there fist pumping at a football match. They're like, life worked out pretty good for us.
FIFA bringing the world together, and maybe anyway. Right, open and shut. This is the Examiner. Rory McIlroy, first round of 80. Jeez, you wouldn't want to back him, especially not when he was already 5 over.
After it's 3.
Myler's mantra, the objective is to beat Waterford, not to be thinking about what's going on at Ennis. This is John Myler, the Cork hurling manager. And then the new Premier League fixtures were out yesterday. And guess what? Jose Mourinho already has a cause. He is already pissed off. Liverpool have 6 home matches.
Don't even say
after their Champions League games.
I think the fixtures are just so... I can't believe how excited people get about the fixtures. It's like the fixtures are out. We've got 19 games home and away over the course of the season. Well, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Whether the Liverpool game comes in the first weekend, the second or the third, really.
Although
does it really matter?
Spare thought for Arsenal, who start with City and Chelsea in their first 2 games.
Yeah. I guess for the fans who are on the ground...
everybody's like, oh, bloody hell.
Like, for people who are going to away matches every second week, it's kind of like, oh, cool, we're going to be in whatever Newcastle around Christmas time. That'll be a good day out kind of thing.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand from a supporter's perspective, all right. But, just generally, the kind of big headlines, we've got a game at home on the first weekend. And guess what? We're going to be away in the second weekend. No, I just can't.
Except for Spurs fans, really, isn't it? Because their new stadium isn't going to be ready for quite some time. So they're like, 4 away games to start the season off.
My favourite story today is about Boris Becker, right? Boris Becker, the 3 times...
You're not going to give him a kicking. You're not going to give him a kicking.
No, I think of all the lives that have been lived by anybody, Becker's is the one the only one that I would think, I wouldn't mind just strolling into those shoes for a while and seeing what the hell happened here? Because like it's ridiculous, right? The 3-time Wimbledon tennis champion was declared bankrupt last summer, and earlier this year launched an appeal to find his missing trophies and to try and pay off £54 million of debts. How the fuck do you get 54 million in debt? Anyway, right. Becker's bankruptcy followed a 20 million divorce and paternity settlements with his first wife Barbara and Angela Ermakova, a Russian model, as well as a 2-year suspended sentence for tax evasion. Germany's Der Spiegel magazine claimed that Becker may have lost his 100 million fortune in part because of questionable investments in the Nigerian oil industry. He did not comment on the claim. But the reason this is in the papers today is because diplomatic immunity, bitches. He's become a cultural ambassador for the Central African Republic, and so therefore is immune from prosecution. So they can't chase him for the 54 million. It's
not a resident, just an ambassador.
Yeah, just an ambassador. Like he's
surely he can't get off on that technicality. You're an ambassador.
A sporting, cultural, and humanitarian affairs attaché for the Central African Republic. Boom.
He's like, my one piece of business advice to Boris Becker is don't invest in Nigerian oil, invest in Nigerian princes. They will never let you down.
Who had the Becker story recently that we were talking to? There was somebody who was working in a hotel. What was the story? It came up recently, and Becker was hanging out with like a prince from a country. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Now it makes a lot of sense. Boris knew what he was doing. All he needs is one of those little diplomatic passports, and it's like...
But it's always sunny side up with Becker, isn't it? I'll give him credit. I mean, he's obviously going through, and it has been for some years. But when you hear him interviewed, and never down on himself, never plays the old self-pity card. He always looks quite dapper, and happy with himself, happy with life. That type of the glass is half full rather than half empty. Give him a bit of credit.
Yeah. He needs to get himself some Bitcoin or something to get those funds right back up there.
Well, that bubble may have burst.
He needs to squeeze in between the Saudi Arabian prince and Vladimir Putin, one of the World Cup games. He needs a few connections.
He needs to buy some Irish property from the glossy, how many pages? 24-page full broadsheet.
It's got to be said, you brought that in.
Thick,
and issued some Dory economic forecast for the Irish property market, which kind of... me and Owen dived in there, and we've actually come to an agreement potentially on a property down the southwest of Ireland. We've picked one out.
We're going halves on a mansion in Kenmare for about €500,000.
4.5 acres, backing onto the loch. You can walk out to an island on low tide. Yeah. Not even going to Airbnb, or we're not.
No, we're not going to lease.
It's
going to live together.
He can have half of the year. He can have half of the year, and I'll have the other half. Which half of the year do you want?
This is the odd couple.
He's a workaholic. I'll have for about 10 months.
This is definitely
like I'll take the 2 months in the summer.
Sitcom in the making here.
Yeah, exactly. Best of buds, living it up in Kenmare.
What's with the Toblerone? I was tweeting a picture about it earlier on.
Yeah, what is with the Toblerone?
That's a bit of a... I shouldn't really be bringing that on.
My dire economic prognostication. You can feel the quality of the paper. Look at it glistening there in the sunshine. There's a problem with Ireland that we've had before, where everybody got...
It's a weak argument, though. Yeah, but off the back of a glossy supplement.
I'm telling you, it's a canary in the gold mine. That's all it is. It's an
ominous sign.
Yeah, I'm saying, I'm worried.
If we get that property in Kerry, we're going to ride it out.
Absolutely. Ride through the crash.
Yeah. That's me done, I think. I've done the Examiner.
Yeah.
I didn't do the Irish Times. She did the Irish Times, really, I suppose. More at stake than points for Spain as they kick off campaign. That game is obviously tonight. And then Russia whipped into frenzy as host nation finds a perfect pitch. I should tell you about the special that we're running with our buddies at Boyle Sports. Check out offtheball.com/Boyle Sports. 25-1 about a goal being scored at any time in the Spain-Portugal game tonight for new subscribers, as long as you click through using the link offtheball.com/Boyle Sports. There are some T's and C's, as in you can only bet €1. So, but still, 25 quid if there's a goal scored. Irish News, one last one. Yeah, Irish News PDF here. Rory suffers as Poulter claims clubhouse lead. Obviously that went to print a little bit early on, but Ian Poulter is flying. And McGeaney baffled by ref choice. So Kieran McGeaney in the piece says, people think I've got a bad reputation with referees. I don't. I mean, I love referees mostly. But he is pissed off that Sligo, who they're playing, are managed by a man from Tyrone, and the referee is a man from Tyrone.
Tyrone shouldn't be reffing Armagh, full stop.
No, Tyrone and Armagh should be kept separate, like, India and Pakistan or Turkey and Greece.
Like, Wow, yeah, I didn't know there was a Tyrone man ref in that game. Regardless of the connections with the Sligo.
That doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
Come on, it doesn't matter.
I don't think it does matter. I'd never like to hear. For me, it's weakness. If I hear, not saying this in particular, but generally speaking, when I hear managers come out before the game and question the kind of referees' appointments and leads and this and that, for me, it's weakness.
Ferguson did it a fair bit, though, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't like to hear it. I really don't. I much rather you stay away from that completely, because I just think it's maybe in the minds of one or two players just sows the seeds of doubt. Oh, it's all against us, that kind of conspiracy thing. So negative. I just don't like that negative pitch.
Or maybe the referee's thinking to himself, do you think I'm going to be biased towards your opposition? Well, let me show you how unbiased I am, and I'm going to give you loads of frees.
Yeah, you can argue it both ways, absolutely, but I never think you should go there. Never like to see managers go there for that reason. Negative.
Fair enough, yeah.
Very un-Boris Becker like.
You'd have to assume that they're saying something else in the changing room, though, right? And that the players he's out there going, look, I'm going to get into them this week. You guys just focus on what you're doing. This is my strategy. You explain it to the players, don't you?
Rubbish, yeah, it's rubbish.
I mean, it is rubbish. We accept that.
You know what I mean?
But we have nothing else to talk about.
Property and Kerry, we can talk about property and Kerry all day long.
Yeah,
absolutely. Just the property show coming to Off the Ball very, very soon. The Racing Post is leading with Royal Ascot, and thankfully they're not talking about drugs and fighting. They're talking about actual horse racing. The Tory raring to go for the week. That means everything. I think Frank the Tory was out for all of Ascot last year, so he's back in the saddle for Royal Ascot, which is coming up. 5-star show from Russia then on the back page. 5-0 to them last night against the poor Saudi Arabia team in the first game of the World Cup 2018. The back page of the Herald says Griezmann's Barca snub. French relief as drama over star forward's future ends with call to stay at Atletico. That was La Decisión. It was on the Movistar network in Spain last night. I'm not sure about you, but it seems to be the exact same title that LeBron James had, which was The Decision on ESPN a few years ago, when he actually kind of had the bombshell ending that he was going to bring his talents to the South Beach and move to Miami Heat. But Griezmann at the end, I'm not sure was it a bombshell or a non-bombshell that he actually decided, no, I'm going to stay at the Wanda Metropolitano. And
so the story goes that Gerard Piqué's media production company produced a video, and there were two separate endings depending on what way Griezmann was going to decide. What happens if they play the wrong ending out? Like, oh shit, I got the wrong tape. That happens. Sometimes we play the wrong tape here. Sometimes. Once or twice a week. You know, it's like, and suddenly it's like, oh, I'm going to Barcelona. Like, no, I'm not, I don't mean that. But what do you think of this, Kenny? So, like, Griezmann literally, there was 1 million people watched the first teaser, because I'm like, I was on Twitter, it was like, oh, what's this? I didn't even know it was happening, and then suddenly I'm clicking on, and suddenly I'm watching this video. I'm like, I'm not watching this, and then I'm tweeting about not watching it, and I was like, okay, I have to go and watch it.
And then you got rickrolled.
Well, you got rickrolled.
Yeah, so Jer sent me a link to watch the La Decisión last night, and it was just Rick Astley, never going to give you up. in the year 2018, I got rickrolled, Kenny. I may as well just quit now.
Now, clearly there must be an appetite for this type of thing. I suppose we're in the world now, I don't know, social world, I don't know what it is like, but people clearly lap it up, and players are willing to accommodate in profile, self-promotion, whatever it is, the whole thing. I mean, he's staying with Atletico. It's as simple as that.
But the big winners, I think, might be Atletico in a way, because they're like, I'm sure they're encouraging him to do this. It's like, we might not have a new signing this year. Maybe we could hype up the fact that you're basically our new signing, Antoine. It's like, we're going to keep you.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things at play there from the players' perspective, from the club's perspective. Oh, without a doubt, they're no fools, but it's a circus. I mean, the story's an interesting one in terms of his state. It doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I couldn't really see the Barcelona one myself, personally, the type of player that he is. The way Barcelona are actually set up to play now, Jer, they play with a front two. Messi plays behind a central striker. That's not his ideal position. Griezmann playing as a number 9. He likes to play and drop off. So I couldn't see the natural fit there with Barcelona.
He's a replacement for Messi in that team, really.
Yeah, but not next year. He's not.
No, exactly. That's the point.
For the next 2 years.
No, so that's the point. So like, you can't play Messi and him in the same role.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not ideal, because he's not that natural number 9. He wants to stay high up the pitch, work off the shoulder defenders in behind. He wants a bit more of a free role to drop into those little pockets where Messi does. So that's not a natural combination there. So again, it doesn't surprise me that Barcelona, some other clubs around as well. But I just think you sense as if he has got a real attachment to that kind of club, the support base and the manager. So I always felt it was going to be hard for him to extricate himself from that. It's not as if they're sixth in the mid-table, only heading in one direction. They're still a very competitive team.
Is it a worrying trend that in the space of a couple of days we've had Real Madrid announce manager of an international team and Griezmann focusing on his documentary and pushing his club future literally 2 days before France begin their World Cup? Like,
it's just the nature of the beast nowadays. I know what you mean. It's not the timing isn't the best, but it doesn't matter nowadays, is it? It's a story. Everybody's on it. Everybody wants to put it out there, roll with it, throw it about a bit, and the normal rules seemingly don't apply anymore in relation to this. I think the generation players nowadays almost accept it. They can live in that kind of environment. And back in the day, it would have been, this is what's this? This is big disturbance. It's going to affect us. But nowadays, I think players are used to it. The kind of media side of things. They've got so much access to them. They're very much part of it, these stories. They move these stories themselves. But
also, loads of money changed hands, obviously. It was only on the Movistar networks. That's a mobile phone network. You had to, I couldn't watch it.
I think Movistar have a channel in Spain, do they?
A TV channel as well?
I think so, yeah.
Do they?
No? I thought it was on the Movistar TV channel that they were running over there. I could be wrong. My knowledge of flicking through hotel room channels in Spain is quite limited.
If they do, it's the same way that Virgin have TV channels and that.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know.
There will be more.
I definitely don't know, Jay. I agree with you.
On the back page of the Mirror, it's The Hills Have Eyes. It's a real horror show for Rory as he hits 10 over at Shinnecock.
Can we let that go? Can we let that story go?
No, we're
going straight into that bookies when I get back.
The thing is, you would be better off putting the money on now. He's probably at 110, 120 to 1 at this point.
I bet he took that money off, put it straight in his back pocket as well. Joke.
The back page of the Star is Spanish the Demons. Ramos insists camp is united. We've got no states bid from Diarmuid. Diarmuid Connolly has not applied for a sanction to play in the USA. It's been widely reported that the Boston club had lined up a move for the Dublin Star. Russia 5, Saudi Arabia 0, and bitter hills to swallow. That's Rory McIlroy there once again. The same picture doing the rounds. The back page of the Sun is 5-star. Great start, but it's no crowning glory. That's Russia's unbelievable win really last night. Salah's golden says...
No, it's not. Look at it.
But it's 5-star, but it's no crowning glory.
No, read it.
Great start, but it's no crowning glory.
5 what?
Sorry, 5-star. Not 5-star. look at me just rushing my words and not even reading
spot,
the thing.
Good spot.
So 5-star, Kenny.
Did you get your knuckles wrapped there?
Yeah, I know, yeah. Come on, read the headline properly.
Tab of the morning to you.
It probably is, yeah.
You had a great week with the tab of the mornings.
I've had a bad week. I'm just going to move on from the Sun. The Sun's caused me enough pain.
Have a bit of Tauber. I'll get a sugar rush.
Yeah, I probably need some sort of injection of sugar at this point. This one I'm pretty sure I can get. High five, says the back of the Guardian. Russia get World Cup off to a flyer.
Ooh, what are they suggesting? High five.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't dare even be suspicious of that. Southgate set to plump for Henderson over Dyer than his Daniel Taylor story from Rapinoe. Looks like that's going to be the big team news ahead of Monday. I'm not sure is Marcus Rashford back in fit. That will be the other...
He's not, well, I don't know.
He's not going to start anyway.
They basically leaked the team. It looks like the Telegraph had what they thought was going to be the team. Did we go through it?
You didn't.
Want me to tell you?
The Telegraph.
You have it. Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
Okay.
Well, you told me a back three of Walker, Stones and Maguire. Wing backs, Ashley Young and Trippier. Young's probably the surprise. A lot of people expected Danny Rose, although probably not, hasn't been match fit, but potentially as the tournament was to go on, he'd probably your best left wing back. So that'd be surprised if Young starts. The midfield three wouldn't be surprised. Henderson, Lingard and Alli. That's probably their strongest midfield three. Henderson just sitting behind the two lads. And then Sterling and Kane up front. A lot of talk of Rashford, but Sterling was always going to get the nod ahead of him up front. Surprise a little bit for me is Dyer. Not that he's not playing in central midfield, because I think he's right to play the one holding midfielder, but I thought he'd drop into the defensive three instead of Kyle Walker. I said it to you earlier, I'm not convinced of Walker in a back three as a defender. I don't trust him. I don't trust him when he plays as a fullback in terms of his positional sense, and certainly in a more central role, particularly against the better sides. I think it could be a problem for them. Yeah,
Tunisia aren't crap. Like, they're not complete rubbish. Like, you're looking like you know a bit more. Maybe you do. Are they rubbish?
Well, their best player is Wabi Kazri, but
it's the best player. Like, crappy teams do well in international football because they have a togetherness and
look, I wouldn't be critical of he's obviously assessed the opposition. They're going to be possession, they're going to be dominating possession. He probably feels if Walker can take it from those deep defensive positions into midfield, kind of very comfortable. So there's a logic to what he's doing. But as the tournament progresses, it'll be interesting to see how he tweaks with that team. The formation won't change. I think he's committed to it, but it'd be interesting when certainly the Belgian game comes along, how he kind of modifies that personnel.
Yeah, he plays best football in the 3-5-2 himself, obviously. Let's bring in some of the international newspapers. We have the Russia. This is asked first. Silencio se juega. Silent, we're playing. Which I guess is game match day, time to go. Sergio Ramos, it feels like we're in a funeral parlour when the World Cup is starting. Well, maybe they shouldn't have sacked the manager then. That's that one. Griezmann, intelligent. Pogba, impressionant. Pogba's a huge player. Griezmann is intelligent. Griezmann is a smart boy. The darling of many women. This is the French Football Federation President, Noël Le Graët. I'm in, great by name. Everything is fine. Nothing to see here, says the Moscow Times. Russian police told to only report good news during the #World Cup season. The Russian government waited for the opening day of the World Cup to announce it is raising the pension age for men from 60 to 65, for women from 55 to 63, and increasing VAT. Classic case of burying bad news.
I think Putin announced that in his speech in the Luzhniki Stadium last night, but the translator just missed it.
Yeah. What's that? What's that music? That means we're going to Russia. Yeah. Come in, Kev and Kilbane.
How are you, lad?
Head.
Oh.
It's 10:30 where you are.
I know, but it took me about 5 hours to get back to the hotel from the game last night. So I was knackered when I got back in, and I'm literally up about 10 minutes. So that's how it is.
Fair enough. We accept your honesty and actually like it. How was the game? How's the stadium? What was going on?
Stadium was class. Really, really good stadium. Atmosphere was very good. I think the atmosphere was helped last night largely down to the fact there was a lot of Mexican supporters, Peruvian supporters. There was different nations that were at the game. So I think that did help the atmosphere last night. But in fairness, no hassle at all getting to the game. I think actually it was really good atmosphere. The Russian supporters were in great form actually, so it was all good.
Kenny's here with us, by the way.
Kenny, you meant to wear that headphone throughout the show. Do you know that?
Both headphones. Sorry, lads. I'm letting you down here.
Both headphones.
All right, Kev, how's it going?
Tell
Kev,
Kenny,
have you been to bed? Kev, have you been to bed? Seriously.
Kenny,
come on.
Kenny, listen to me.
You just rolled in about half an hour ago. You just rolled in from that 24-hour McDonald's, the biggest McDonald's in Moscow.
No. Absolutely no night out last night.
Kev, how did Robbie Williams go down? I saw about 10 minutes before I headed out the door. I wasn't having it.
Terrible, mate. Honest to God, it was awful. It was awful. I'm not a big fan anyway, but no, it wasn't my style really. No.
You could have done better, Kev. I've seen you.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Ken. But no, before the game, it was in and around the game before the match. There was a lot of the police that was stopping, letting loads of dignitaries in. So I only got into the ground probably about 5:20, I would think. Just it was just literally on when I was going into the stadium, and I went in. I watched the back end of Robbie Williams, and not for me, Ken, as you know.
Yeah. Mick Jagger had been doing this stuff, Kev would have been whoosh, that was it. Straight down the front.
He did look a little bit like Morrissey, which I'm sure would be more up your alley, Kev.
Yeah, I do like the Smiths, as you know, Owen. But I don't know, Owen. I don't know if what did he sound like on TV? Because the stadium, the stadium, like what is it? The
camera,
sound system. No, the sound system in the stadium wasn't actually great at the start of the game. They kind of fixed it during the match, actually. Yeah. So I don't know if that maybe added to the problem of it. I don't really know. But
what was it like around the town, Kev? The hours leading up to the game.
But honestly, Ken, it was. I was just saying that to Jerry if you'd have had your headphones in. That the atmosphere around the stadium was great. Getting into the game beforehand was really, really good. I just think there was a real buzz. I think the real togetherness, I think, from the Russian supporters as well. So yeah, it felt great.
What about the quality of football? I didn't see the game. I was in transit. What did you make of them, Russia? I know Saudi Arabia are pretty poor, obviously.
Physically, Ken, you could see them. Saudi Arabia in the first 15-20 minutes playing some decent football, creating a few openings. They never created any chances really, and physically you could just see any time that they were giving the ball away, sloppy passes in midfield. Russia just had too much of them physically and I think maybe from a technical point of view, probably in the final third, they look more clinical, and that was how it went really the game. So I wouldn't
fancy him to get out of that group, Kev? Do you fancy him to get out of the group?
Russia now, only because. Well, you think now, now they could get a draw against Egypt, so you could get out on 4 points now with that goal difference, couldn't you? That's the thing. So they'd be looking maybe at Egypt against Saudi Arabia themselves, but Uruguay look nailed on now. I think that's the way it is for them.
Just a quick word on the finishing from the Russians yesterday. 3 of those goals were absolutely beautiful goals. The little dink over the 2 defenders, granted they were sliding a little bit fast, but that and the finish, because it looked like, I thought the pass had screwed it up before that, the outside of the foot going away, and then the free kick. I mean, that's about as good an opening World Cup fixture as we could have hoped for.
Yeah, well, I think the lad that scored the free kick, he set up the 4th goal, I think it was, Golovin. Big talk on him, Joe, as well, that he's been around the scene for a while now. I think he was great at CSKA Moscow last season off the back of his good season. So he's maybe putting himself in the shot window, I suppose, through this one. There was talk of him actually going to Arsenal, so it might be interesting, that one. Maybe at the back end of last season, or certainly through last season with Arsene Wenger, a big fan of him apparently. But anyway, he looked good. He looked the standout player. You could tell he's got a touch of class about him. Yeah.
Kev, what's the food like over there? Getting on to more important issues.
Well,
are you struggling?
By coming on this morning, you've taken me away from breakfast, so I want to head down. Breakfast in this hotel is unbelievable, so I want to go down. I want to experience. Yeah, nice bit of breakfast. Yeah, Ken. Yeah, Ken, I'm open to international cuisine. I'm not straight down the line like you. I'd be open for anything. So that's the way that I feel it. Yeah.
He's heading down McDonald's again.
What's on the buffet breakfast in a Russian hotel? What is it?
Full everything. You know, you've got your usual continental. You've got your cheeses. You've got all that. There's bacon. There's beans. There's sausage. There's the full shebang this morning. Honestly,
caviar. Tell me there's caviar. Come on.
There was no caviar that I'd seen yet. No, there was no caviar, Jay. No, but I'll have a look this morning, see if they can get some on for me.
There must be something like that.
Just one. I hate to kind of change subject back to what happened last night again. Is it okay if we just stop talking food for just one moment? Before we move on to today's games, because I fear we're getting into today's games. Just one last question.
Says Owen with the Toblerone in front of him.
This was a gift from Kenny Cunningham this morning. It's a white
story. It was a peace offering. Actually, let's leave it at
for that. Whatever piece is being offered. I'm not quite sure.
It was a bit offside last week round.
Apparently,
let's leave it at that.
I'm not sure what he's talking about. Last night, so you made.
We're all intrigued now. Just so you know, we're all like, what the hell going on?
I'm as intrigued as anybody here.
Just because you didn't tell him about Patrick Reed, is that what happened?
Let's leave it.
Anyway, you caught the end of Robbie Williams last night, Kev, but obviously that meant that you caught all of those weird speeches, the speeches from Putin and the speeches from Infantino. What was the reaction to Vladimir Putin in the Luzhniki Stadium last night? It sounded like pretty rapturous.
Yeah, he got a great reception actually. I was sat right in front of him. Yeah. So I had to turn around and listen to Vladimir with his speech, but it went down very well, very, very well. Yeah, even I was in Brazil 4 years ago, but I wasn't actually at the game. But when all the dignitaries were doing the speeches before the game, they were getting booed. There was a real bad atmosphere. Last night, anything but. Got a rapturous reception.
That's surprising, that, isn't it? Vladimir Putin getting a good reception.
And is it like a nice place? Are you wandering around, or is it so far just been work?
Kev is a wanderer. Did you bring your moped? Did you ship your moped out of your little Kawasaki 350? He makes his way around Dublin in.
The moped's not over, but I tell you, it's a class place. Kenny, I think you were here in. We were here in.
He's in Putin's pocket. Kev's in Putin's pocket.
No, I'm telling you.
The greatest speech I've ever heard. This country is the best on earth. Oh,
breakfast.
You got shares.
Great breakfast.
Just giving shares in that oil company.
He wants to make it out alive.
My first impression of Russia since arriving, I've only been here a couple of nights, is very, very good. Very, very friendly, outstanding people. But walking around the city, Ken, I tell you, you'd love it here, mate. This is right up your street. Pull a cup. So I took the metro over to the ground last night. The metro is unbelievable. Like, it's just the construction, the architecture is unbelievable. Kenny, it's right up your street. Honestly, amazing.
Rub me now, isn't it?
You were going to say you were there in 02.
Yeah, I was just saying we were here in 02 when we played. So I managed to I got out for we were able to get out and maraud a little bit too much in 02 just after the World Cup, but it just didn't have the feeling that it's got here now. I don't know. Just maybe I felt a little bit on edge a little bit when you're out and about. It just didn't feel. don't know. It didn't feel welcoming. I think, and I say anything but here now. It's been great. The atmosphere very good. I think when you're getting a lot of, the collective that's arriving here now, there's the support that's coming in here. You're getting that real good atmosphere. But in general, it just feels great. Yeah, it does.
Let's give it a big sell, Kevin.
Here you go. We all want to go now. D. Conway says Kiev Kilbansky is your new name. So we'll take that. Quick one on tonight's game. Obviously, the Portugal-Spain match has suddenly become an absolutely important all-time match, given that this is the first time that we can remember a manager being sacked by a massive country like Spain in World Cup history, 36 hours out from the actual game itself. So what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I've backed Spain, haven't I? So it's absolutely killed me on the eve of the tournament. It's killed me. I fancy them strongly to beat Portugal tonight. I think they've got way too much for them. But I think it does change. It does change maybe your thinking with what's happened. How are they going to be mentally coming in now? Are they right? You would expect with the experience that they've got within that squad that they're going to be okay. But I think we'll see. I think we'll probably see in the first 10 or 15 minutes how they are, how unified they are. We may even see before the game how unified they are in the warm up. Let's see what they're like. Let's see what the body language is like. Let's see what the facial expressions are like. I think you can get a gauge.
Seriously though, if people are expecting somehow the Spanish national team are going to come onto the pitch, their chins are going to be on the floor, they're going to be moping around. I mean, it's borderline ridiculous, but you know what, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Ken. But the fact is, if they weren't to play well tonight, and say they drew 0-0 and they weren't great, they weren't in great form, then all of a sudden then it does put a bit more pressure.
Yeah, but
on
the
them,
argument is, Kev, the argument is they won't play well because of this big furore, suddenly it's going to affect them. Like it's absolutely splintered the spirit within the squad. Players aren't happy. Well, players aren't happy. I mean, imagine they're happy with they're not going to be happy with the president of the Spanish Association. But why would that actually affect collectively their performance for a World Cup? For me, there's no logic to it whatsoever.
Well, there is logic to it, Ken. There is logic because if one or two aren't happy that he's gone, then there could be a little bit of unhappiness within the squad. I'm not saying that's going to be the collective throughout.
That would never affect performance, Kevin. Seriously, Kevin, if you're in that situation, it would never affect in terms of your approach and the quality of your performance.
Right, Kenny. Well, I'll put it this way. So say Lopetegui's got his ways playing. I'm sure he's got his 1 to 11. He's got his mind on the team that was going to start on Friday, and he's probably been working on that throughout the week. Then all of a sudden, Hero comes in and goes, "I'll tell you what, don't necessarily fancy Diego Costa tonight. I might play somebody else." Does that affect the team then? Yeah. Because it simply does. Let's see how Hero makes his selection tonight. Because if he makes 1 or 2 changes from what the team that Lopetegui was going to make, that does affect the team.
That's an interesting. That's a fair point that you've made. But I'd probably counter that in saying I don't think Hero's stupid enough to go in a couple of days before the competition, go in and start throwing grenades around the dressing room and changing formation, necessarily changing personnel.
But he can't pick a team he doesn't believe in. So he's got to. If he doesn't believe in Costa, he can't pick him.
No, but if the teams have been prepared, which it has been for some considerable time, particularly the weeks leading up into this particular game, it'd be absolutely idiotic for him to come in and make those big kind of wholesale changes. I don't think he'd do it.
But I doubt very much he's had the conversations with Lopetegui. By the way, what team were you going to play that day?
His backroom staff will be there, Kev, though, isn't it? His backroom staff has stayed there. The managers, they haven't gone with him, have they? Yeah.
That's true, but he's going to have his own mind, though, isn't he? He's got Hero's going in as a coach. He's got to make some sort of decisions himself. And I get the fact is that they've been working on a set formula. They've been working on their patterns of play, all these sort of things that we know. It's clear when you're watching Spain, but it's personnel that could disrupt that. That's the only thing that maybe I'd be looking at. But I'm with you to the extent of it. 90% of me is totally in agreement with what you're saying. Spain, they've got enough quality. They know exactly how they've been playing for years, so they should win the game if they turn up, and that's the way that I think. And I've backed them, so that's what I'm hoping for. So yeah,
bit like I backed McIlroy yesterday, 3 in the afternoon, 6 over par.
What about the way?
Yes, you haven't heard this yet.
Kev, leave it.
He walked into the bookies and went, McIlroy's 50 to 1. What the hell? And the bookie goes, yeah, it's a big price, isn't it? And Kenny goes, yeah, take my money. And then we told him this afternoon. That he was already 3 or 4 over par at that stage, possibly 6 over by that point.
How much did you put down on that?
A few shekels.
Few shekels.
You're never allowed to ask that question. And that's rude.
Well, it is rude, but sometimes rude questions have to be asked.
I don't mind that.
The Portugal approach to this game tonight, how does that change? Are they going to be like second guessing whatever Hierro was going to be bringing to this game? Would they have done a lot of analysis on the Lopetegui system and are now looking at their blueprints and are thinking to themselves, oh crap, we might have to throw this whole thing out the window?
No, I don't think it changes Portugal's approach because it's personnel. It's the 11 probably will be, as maybe we were talking about before, will probably be what we expect it to be. I would have thought you'll have your Iniestas, you'll have your Iscos, you'll have your Asensios, your Diego Costas. They'll probably all start. So the approach can't really change from Portugal's point of view. They may sense blood a little bit. I don't know. They may sense that there's a chance for them. But the quality of players within that Spanish side are way above Portugal. But I don't know. I don't fancy Portugal. I don't fancy them tonight. I still fancy Spain to win it.
The three centre halves they've got, I think, are all the same age, all 34. Pepe, Bruno Alves, and Jose Font. Yeah. So like it's an aging centre back partnership, whatever they go with. I don't think they'll go with a back three somehow, but whatever the two they do pick at the heart of the defence could be their Achilles heel, Kev.
Yeah, well, that's where they've played. That's what they built the success on over the last few years, winning at the Euro, defensive structure, four at the back. I can't see them changing the system of the side.
They're a battle-hardened team, though, Kev. Though, aren't they? They won't. They'll hang about. You know what I mean? They'll stick around. They'll hang at the coattails of the Spanish
trophy-winning international side.
Yeah, exactly. And Ronaldo in the team. That gives you hope. That's why you stick around. That's why you have the belief. You hang around. You can win a game. You just got to feed him anywhere in the opposition half the pitch. He can win you the game. So I certainly wouldn't rule Portugal out.
There's a bit of money. I'm sure now that's gone on Portugal over the last few days. I'm sure that one or two people have just got a bit of a smile on the face. They're starting to sway towards Portugal now. But I still don't fancy them. I just don't think they've got enough. I really don't.
Who do you fancy to win it, Kev?
Well, again, I fancied Spain, Kendo, but my mindset's changed a little bit now. I can't see beyond Brazil. Germany, or Spain. They're the three. If I'm looking to nail it down now, I'd still got to stick with Spain because I've backed them all the way through, so I've got to stick with them.
Quick word on the England 11. It's effectively been leaked. Dyer isn't playing. Kyle Walker is going to be part of the back three. The left wing back is going to be Ashley Young. It's going to be Lingard, Dele Alli and Jordan Henderson in midfield, and Rashford obviously in making the front two. So it's going to be Harry Kane and Raheem Sterling.
Yeah, no real surprise. I'm not surprised that he went with maybe the one sitter. There was talk he could have gone with Dyer and Henderson for this game. It's a system that he's been playing, so it's been working for him.
Would you play Walker, Kev? Would you play Walker in the three? You think there's better options than him? Possibly Dyer dropping in there?
Yes, I probably would. That's maybe the thing. I think you're taking something away from Kyle Walker's game, Ken. I think he's got so much energy physically up and down that touchline. I think it's perfect for him, and I think you're taking something from him. You know what? Personally, I think if he's going with that as well, I would have maybe be looking at throwing Trent Alexander-Arnold into the mix as well over Kieran Trippier, going there, simply because of the big game experience he's got over the last 6 months. That's what I'd be thinking of as well. That's maybe the debatable one when he was naming the squad, I suppose, as well. But Danny Rose, I suppose, as well. Could he have been starting ahead of Ashley Young? You're going to miss that real physicality, I think, from the two flying wing backs. That's the thing from them. So where you could have hurt Tunisia with the way that Tunisia will play tonight, they will dominate the ball, I think, England. But I think they should have too much. Let's be fair now. They should have too much for Tunisia. That's the way that I think.
All right, Kev, we'll let you go and get some of the caviar. Thanks very much for rolling out of bed and joining us this morning.
Cheers, lads. Have a good day.
Good luck. So OTBAM, of course, a reminder, is brought to you this morning with Screwfix, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
He was too over the top there, wasn't he? That was a bit too much, wasn't it?
Which bit?
The Russian experience.
About how much he's loving it.
Oh, yeah.
Off camera, there's somebody with a gun saying, you will tell everybody this is great country.
Oh, Vladimir was such an amazing speech. It was so well received in the stadium.
It does look nice. Red Square looks nice. But,
you'd almost forget
you'd almost forget the society that kind of compounds that country into being. But like, it is a beautiful. It looks beautiful.
It does look beautiful, yeah.
I do wish I was.
Take Kerry any day of the week.
Take Kenmare, take that 17-bed mansion.
A reminder that A reminder that Off the Ball have teamed up with Boyle Sports for specials around the World Cup. 25-1 that any time a goal will be scored by any team in the match between Spain and Portugal tonight. For new accounts, check out offtheball.com/Boyle Sports. I think that the Morocco-Iran game, I think Morocco are going to kill Iran, right? Like the relative strength of the African nations and the Iran, that qualifying pool is not dissimilar to what we saw last night.
It's a harder because, look, let's be honest, we don't know the individual players too well from these countries. Traditionally, those North African countries are reasonably strong in relation to the kind of teams you're talking about. So I would give Morocco the edge, but I think, to be honest with you, I'm trying to generate any kind of enthusiasm for that game. I'm struggling.
It's still only day 2. It's still easy to get enthusiastic for games. It's going to be a 0-0 draw.
Day 1 and day 2 at the moment.
Carlos Queiroz is obviously the Iran manager. Apparently he's created some sort of solidity in the team where they kept clean sheets in the majority of their qualifying games. That doesn't say much, obviously, given the pool of qualifying players that had to come through. Obviously Morocco have had to come through a much harder qualifying section to be here, so you'd give them the edge based on that. But I wouldn't be surprised Iran aren't going to score in this game. I don't suspect it's going to be 1-0 to Morocco or a scoreless draw.
Iran at the previous World Cup, didn't they a couple of their games, didn't they take off a little bit? Queiroz was in charge again, wasn't he, at the previous? Didn't they almost pull off I
don't know,
that's
Kenny.
A hell of it. I'm putting that out there. I'm sure they did.
Somebody will tell us very quickly,
1-0, didn't they take a scalp?
0-0 with Nigeria.
0-0.
Lost 1-0 to Argentina.
Oh, it was the Argentina game.
Lost 3-1 to Bosnia.
It was the Argentina game. They were well in the game.
Messi scores in the last
minute. Yeah, they actually could have gone ahead. The opportunity to go ahead in that game.
All right, so maybe I'm taking back my definitely got it. 91st minute for Messi in that one. The Egypt-Uruguay game is the other one. That's the early kickoff today. Then, so that's at 1 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, it's Morocco-Iran, and at 7 o'clock tonight, it's Portugal and Spain. And then tomorrow is one of those Saturdays where you spend the whole day watching football from the get-go. 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, France against Australia. At 2 o'clock, it's Argentina-Iceland. At 5 o'clock, it's Peru and Denmark. Oh. And then at 8 o'clock, it is Croatia and Nigeria.
Peru-Denmark is going to be the game of the day, Kenny.
But that's your breather. That's when you got to take a step back.
No, it's not.
Go down to the chip or Chinese, wherever you got. They'll take the dog for a walk. And then get back in for the evening game. So you're 2 early bankers.
Make sure the kids haven't killed each other.
Take a step away and go again.
How you can say Australia-France is going to be a better game than Peru-Denmark, I don't know.
France, you've got to have a look at France. You've got to the potential winners of the competition.
As a contest?
Not so much as a contest, but you need to have a look at them. Potential winners of this competition. Argentina the same.
Peru-Denmark game of the day tomorrow.
Analysts be analysing. That's just the thing. Speaking of which, David Brady and Nathan Murphy, 2 Mayo men in the studio last night previewing a Connacht football final which bizarrely doesn't even feature Mayo. What the hell's going on?
And look at this. These 2 managers, and I don't buy into this guy coming from here and making this whole transition, or a guy coming from Clare, Kerry, Cork, Dublin, and getting the credit for it. I think the credit has to go to the likes of Kevin Walsh and Kevin McStay. In all fairness, they're 2 very astute, conniving managers, and but they're honest. They're honest, and I think for me, what has typified Kevin McStay's tenure, when they won the Connacht final last year, there was a sign on the wall. It said honesty of effort, and that's what, and absence of ego. And that's what he brings to the system. And they're calling them young players for the last 4 or 5 years. Eventually they're going to have to start shaving and grow old. This is the kind of they're saying, oh, we have a young team, They have a young team, but so does everyone else nearly. The team they're playing is as young as you'll get. For me, one of the key players on Sunday is Rory Lavelle in goal for Galway. He cannot give fodder to the likes of Enda Smith, who dominated their own midfield. Paul Conroy coming in is astute. You have Tomas Flynn there, who's a big physicality. If Galway are to win it, they can't give possession to the big men around the middle for Roscommon, especially. And Enda Smith just dominated that game last year.
Yeah.
And again, the start, you might as well make a cup of tea at the start, because it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be pretty. But that's football, and I'm looking forward to it, no matter what way it turns out.
Yeah, so that's David Brady looking forward to the Connacht football final. Michael Meehan is with us this morning. Michael, good morning to you.
Morning, Ger. Morning, lads.
Feeling a bit confident heading into this game?
Yeah, to a certain degree. There's every reason to have confidence coming in on the back of how Galway have performed of late. Throughout the spring, I suppose, with the league behind them, they have a lot of football played, 2 games in Championship, and it's a nice turnaround, a 2-week turnaround from the Sligo match is just about ideal in GAA terms, I think. And, that's something that Roscommon have been missing, really. They've been lying idle in terms of Championship games. Since they finished up in Croke Park, I suppose they had their league final with Cavan. So I think there's a certain degree of confidence around the county. That said, I know from being close enough to Roscommon here that there's plenty of confidence on that side of the border too, so it makes for an intriguing contest.
What difference does it make that the game is in Hyde Park? Because obviously Kevin McStay made a big play of making sure that the game was going to be there, and there was a little bit of doubt about it for a while, and then that all disappeared and stopped being an issue. But have Galway got a particularly bad record there? Is it something? Is it a graveyard of dreams?
Not overly. Over the last couple of years, in my time, I think I played there 2 or 3 times in Championship. Never a Connacht final, but we won on both occasions as far as I can remember. But it is. I think traditionally, maybe in a Connacht final setting, it is a strong venue for them, and it's a home venue. There's a bit added to it in that they missed out, and when Galway and Roscommon drew 2 years ago, the replay should have went back to Hyde Park, but it was being developed at the time. So the replay went to Castlebar, and it went very much Galway's way that day. So I think there's a bit of a sour taste in the back of that amongst Roscommon people as well. So they were very eager to have their game there this year, and by all accounts, the pitch is perfect pitch now, and it's a good setting for it.
One of the things that Galway have to get used to is being favourites in big games like this, and actually they seem to be dealing with that pretty well. I don't know, is that harder as the year goes on? And maybe this is actually the last time that matters, because once the Super 8 happens, then those games are largely going to be 50-50, or if they come up against the Dubs, they'll be underdogs. But otherwise, they seem well equipped to deal with that in a way that a lot of GAA teams sometimes haven't necessarily been. Yeah, well,
I suppose they were that GAA team on a number of occasions. Last year going into the Connacht final against Roscommon would have been favourites, got a clip in. Roll back a year before, qualifier against Tipperary in Croke Park, or a semi-quarter final against Tipperary in Croke Park, got a clip in from them going in as favourites. So on a few occasions, this team has gotten a taste of that. So I'm sure that's always going to play on their mind, and it's going to sharpen them up for Sunday. They will be going in slight favourites, I feel. But I think the biggest thing for them is how, possibly a biggest motivation for Galway is how they went in as favourites last year and underperformed to the extent that they did. Now, that's not to take away from what Roscommon did and how good they were last year. They really put the squeeze on and dominated. I know David Brady mentioned the midfield battle there, and they probably won the lion's share on that in the Connacht final last year. So that if that's to happen again, all of a sudden the favourites tag, could maybe slip into Roscommon's favour.
Yeah. Just on the Galway-Sligo game, because it was a game that clashed with a load of hurling, so most people won't have seen this game in full. They put up 4-24 that day, and I didn't see the full game either. I'd imagine it was quite a different performance to the functional performance against Mayo in the first round.
Very much so, yeah. They completely went on Wintford from the get-go. Were on the front foot, had 4 or 5 points scored, within a couple of minutes, well within 4 or 5 minutes. And they just went about their business and they didn't let up. I was covering that game with yourselves, and Mike Quirk was down in Killarney for Kerry and Clare. And sorry, and he was the reporting at half time. He was saying that Kerry was 16 points to 4 up or something like that. And I was just tracking the scoring. Galway had about 115 scored as well or something like that. So I was tracking the second half scoring, and I wanted to compare Galway to Kerry. And Kerry pushed on and got another 16 or so scores, as you'd expect. And Galway, to be fair, went on and scored maybe 3-6 or 3-7. So I was impressed with the way that Galway pushed on in the second half and just didn't sit back. They really kept their foot in the gas right up till the end. Some of the players were still running and working really hard. So I thought that was an encouraging sign from that day.
Yeah, because it seems, taking all that into account, that perhaps, I know Ger and you both agree that they're definitely favourites for this weekend, it still seems they're being a little bit underrated, because if you had taken that 424 scoreline and put that as Kerry's score against Clare, or Donegal's scoreline against Down, or Dublin's scoreline against anybody else, people would be kind of citing the 424 and saying this is why they are All-Ireland contenders. Sligo are also a relatively good side. They're not an absolute kind of tomato can of a team. So this should have been something where we kind of looked at Galway and said, right, okay, they are a little bit more now for real. They are more something we can take more for serious when it comes to actual All-Ireland contention.
I suppose, but I think maybe down here it's a little bit, once bitten, twice shy, or to a certain extent of just waiting until you can really see evidence, at the right time of the year. And Galway, amongst other teams, have been great at putting in big performances, maybe in the earlier parts of the championship, and then tailing off. And I think there's a residue of that there. So everyone, from a Galway perspective, and maybe nationally, those looking on with interest, just as interested neutrals, want to see Galway, do it on the bigger stages. And that's probably when you get into Croke Park, maybe the latter stages of the Super 8s. I don't know, but we've had big performances. We've beaten Mayo in Connacht finals in the last couple over the last few years, and there's been big games like that. And just they weren't backed up. So I think there's that residue is there, Owen. That's people are kind of maybe just sitting and holding off a little bit till we see what develops as we move a little bit into the championship.
I guess the point is that you wouldn't have seen Galway previously put up 424 against anybody. That's a thing that only the best teams do.
Yeah, fair. I accept. Looking to Sunday, the two forward lines that are on show, it could make for an absolute belter of a game. Now, tactics and the fact that it's a final might overrule that, and we probably won't see it. But Galway and Roscommon have two fine sets of forwards that are creative. They can score, put up big scores. I think if you talk about Roscommon, what did they get in that league final? They got 420 or something mental like that against Cavan. So
they conceded loads as well.
They did on that occasion, and that's maybe where Galway will be looking to isolate some weakness. But going back to your point, 422 against Sligo is huge. It's a great basis for confidence for the lads. But I know for a fact, even the players themselves, a lot of them have been there over the years. Gone up to Kerry a couple of times, Donegal and Croke Park, Tipperary and Croke Park, and just. Hasn't worked out on those occasions. So I think they're very much, it was great, we've done it, but there's just a box-ticking exercise to get to a stage where they can say, right, this is the game that we have to win to show that we are in the mix.
Can we maybe talk about the other possibility here, that they actually do lose, right? Roscommon know how to win these games and have been good in them in recent years as well. It's still not actually a disaster unless something horrible happens in the qualifier draw. You would still expect Galway to be able to make it through. I guess
to the eights, yeah.
Yeah, and ultimately, I guess a Connacht title is important to the development and evolution of this team. Although most of them probably have medals, so really we need to see them perform in those three big games in the Super 8s.
Yeah,
and that's when we decide if they're realistic All-Ireland contenders or not.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's very accurate description. They have Connacht medals, the vast majority of them. It will be a super, thing to gain at this stage, and just kind of to bank it and shove it away and move on. But it won't be the be all and end all, nor it shouldn't. It certainly is. It's Galway go in as slight favourites, but I can see, every outcome has a chance of happening on Sunday. I wouldn't be banking on remortgaging the house or anything crazy like that in terms of betting or that sort of stuff, and I wouldn't be advising that either, because it is Roscommon know how to beat Galway. They have in the past. They have a good management in place that they're big game setup, and they're big game players by and large. So there is a danger in that Galway could very well on Monday morning be facing a qualifier game to get to the Super 8s. It's not the end of the world. It is. All year, for me, I've been saying that the chestnut for Galway is, can they get a big win in Croke Park? And that's the test against a big team. There's been so much made of it over the years. Since 2001 is the last time Galway won championship in Croke Park. It's just getting into those latter stages and having a challenge against one of the big teams, maybe in the last round of a Super 8 or maybe in an All-Ireland semi-final. And the gauntlet is there in front of them. Can they get over that line? And if they can, then I think everyone can start taking them seriously to have a right pop at this. But up until that, I think they have to get to that stage.
Yeah.
And then answer the question.
Winning Connacht obviously is an easier Super 8 group as well. I don't know if you saw Darragh Shea's piece during the week about how he hoped that Damien Comer had got the urge to track back 80 metres out of his system, and that somebody would sit him down and go, listen, you just stay as an inside forward there, or stay as a forward at least, so you're an outlet ball for us, as opposed to being the one whose job it is to track back. And I'm not sure if actually that's the style, if everybody has that equal responsibility to be that defensive player. You know what that setup is like. What is the philosophy behind getting those forwards to track back and or sometimes stay forward?
Yeah, it's definitely you'll depending on how the game is approached, every team will always be keeping a focal point, close to the D in front of the goal, with maybe one or two support lads close to him inside the 45. So most teams always have some outlet up there, and by and large, I think most people would love to see Damien as that man, 24/7. However, there's other players that role suits as well. Ian Burke has come in and he starts again the next day, and he is that type of player that needs to sit in close to the goal, and he's got the tricky movement, he's got that creativity to get into space, win a ball, lay it off, or take on his man. So it's essentially, it comes down to the personnel and just sharing out the roles a little bit, because it's such a demanding game that if your man goes, or if you think your man is going to go and attack, Damien has to go with them. He cannot afford to pass him on to someone 10 metres back, Eamon Brannigan, or someone further out the pitch. Damien has to see the run happening and be and be ahead of him. So there is a possibility where he doesn't want to be. So there's that element too. You got to look at it from that side of things, that the fullbacks or whoever might be say, right, I'm getting Damien Comer out of here. I don't want to be left isolated out with him, the full back line. I'm bringing him up the pitch. So there's all of those little things to work out and to get a balance on. But I'd say there seems to be a bit of a more consciousness to Galway to try and keep Damien higher up the pitch. We did see it in the league where he sort of man-marked Aidan O'Shea out around the middle and even towards the back line in the league in Galway in March. But I think that was just very much from a physique. He matched up most with Aidan O'Shea on that day. So he's expected to work back, depending on where he is in the forward line. Like every forward is for Galway, for every team out there, they have to anticipate the run and they have to get back before it happens. Because if you're reacting to a Conor Devaney or a Brian Stack or someone like that going for Roscommon, it's curtains. They're gone. They're in for an overlap. There's a score, maybe a goal on.
What's your idea of where the best position is for Damien Comer when Galway, say, have the ball on their own tee? You might completely disagree with this, but from what I saw in the Mayo game, it seemed that having Comer in a deep position and getting him the ball when he's running at speed, a la Aidan O'Shea, funnily enough, is where he can be at his most devastating, rather than putting him inside in the square and having two lads marking him. Yeah,
you're right. He needs to get on the ball moving. Now that said, he was put in on the square against Sligo and he got one of his goals from it, where it was a big, long, direct diagonal ball, rained in on top of him, and he was able to climb highest and secure. He turned his man, took it in and stuck it. So, if you can see him, if he's left as a one-on-one, you do hit him with direct ball. He has that power and physique. He's a great leap on him to win his own ball, or maybe to break it to someone close to him. On the two, if he's double marked or anything like that, you got to get him moving out around the pitch, taking ball, coming onto it into space, and linking up with Shane Walsh, Eamon Brannigan, and these lads. Little give and go. He's deceptively quick and agile for the frame that he carries and the bulk that he has. So those areas, if he can get into those pockets of space, running onto ball like he did against Mayo at Owen, that's where he's dangerous, because he has a left and right foot, and his confidence is good. His scoring is very good this year. So we've no problem seeing him getting on the ball anywhere inside the 45. If he gets a play, he's going to have a shot, and there's a good chance it's going over.
One last question for you: who from Roscommon worries you most ahead of this game?
Well, as a group, their ability to attack and their creativity is top class. They're a lovely team to watch to play in that regard. You've got the two Murtas involved in that. You've got the Smiths. You've got Conor Devaney, who did really well against us last year. I think he's wing forward again, but he is that modern day wing forward. He's up and down the pitch, but he can score. And it's how they look to play the ball in. maybe Donny Smith out around the middle. It's just a ball, that little dink of a pass, in over a back, 20-30 yard, bouncing into space, and they've got scorers. So their attacking threat is what I'm concerned about. And what I probably see happening in terms of the game, which mightn't be to everyone's liking, is Galway could maybe set up very, very defensive and crowd that out just to nullify that, because you don't want to leave yourself isolated against those lads. They're going to punish you. And I think conditions will play a role in that. If we have a wet, windy day, if there's a big gale blowing one way, then you might say, okay, we'll really press up on these guys and we'll go man for man. However, if you're playing into that gale, some teams might just say, we're dropping off, we're crowding out, we're hitting them on the counter. So it's their attacking ability is what worries me.
Fair enough. Michael, enjoy the game. Thanks a million for joining us this morning.
Okay, see you, lads.
Michael Meehan giving us his thoughts there. Aidan Taylor says, what balanced coverage about the Connacht final? Galway, 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 Galway. Is there another team playing in the final by any chance? We'll do loads on Roscommon on Saturday and Sunday, I promise you, don't worry.
Or on Monday after they win or something like that. That Galway team, it's starting to look a little bit more devastating as the weeks go by, and it might just be kind of due to familiarity, seeing them every week in Division 1 and the first game being televised and all that. But you look at Ian Burke, Damien Comer, Shane Walsh, full forward line, which can do a lot of damage to any team. You look at suddenly a bit of depth as well in that Galway team, like Shawnee Armstrong on the bench, Cook and Duggan on the bench as well, two excellent midfielders, two excellent young midfielders. Duggan was man of the match against Mayo to come off as well. So it's once this gets into the melting pot of 55-60 minutes on Sunday, you do give the nod to Galway in that regard, but it's in the height. It's a huge opportunity for Roscommon. They're like, that commentary isn't too far off the mark that it's all been Galway, but it has been they have been one of the stories of the year so far when it comes to the league and all that, so that's naturally going to be the way it goes. But like I've been saying it for a while, Roscommon had a serious shout of winning this provincial title because of the draw they got, and it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if they won on Sunday.
We're 3-1 in that game.
3-1.
Yeah, big old prize by two horse race in the match that the team beat them last year, and now this time have home advantage. You watching any Gaelic football at the moment?
Not at the moment. Just mentioned I was in the airport going home last weekend. I mentioned it, didn't I? And the flight was delayed, so I was up on the bar, and the Kilkenny-Wexford hurling game was in motion. It was just the start of the second half, and Kilkenny were in a bit of trouble, and it's a good performance second half. Oh my God, they really got the bit between their teeth. Like you could sense it. You know what I mean, in terms of just a bit of a shift. I didn't see the first half. Obviously, Wexford played well, but Kilkenny were just like relentless in that second half.
Yeah, the momentum just completely turned in that game. So you saw the entire second half. You just saw the Kilkenny beast roaring back.
Most of the second half, yeah, it was up. There was a good crowd in there actually, in the bar watching it. It generally is, isn't it? The hurling seems to catch people. So you don't necessarily have to be big. I'm not a big hurling fan. Like I never played hurling growing up, but yeah, it's one of those sports you're walking past in a bar. Unlike the Russia-Saudi Arabia game yesterday, we certainly wouldn't have grabbed my attention.
Yeah,
that game
you're stopping to watch
did.
it. Yeah, it's like a good fight. Right,
people mentioned Galway, by the way. I was speaking to people a few months ago, and just coincidentally, a couple of people shouted them up to keep an eye on Galway this year.
In the football?
Yeah, football, yeah.
Like, they just have to prove it to us to go and be consistent 4 or 5 games in a row, because they've been brilliant in a couple of games in Championship. I'm talking about obviously in League they're pretty good this year and indeed last year, so they definitely have built something that gives them the opportunity to thrive. Right, we just want to move on because some snooker royalty next on the show. Ronnie O'Sullivan and Jimmy White were speaking to OTB Shane Hannon recently. You can watch the full piece over on our ever-growing YouTube channel at youtube.com/off the ball. Make sure you hit subscribe, and anytime there's any goodness coming your way, you'll be alerted to it. Here the lads are talking about hanging out with the Rolling Stones.
Ronnie's a good pal of mine, and he always has a snooker table in all his houses. And one night we was there, we'd been there for a little while, we had a few drinks with Keith Richards. So
as you do, as you turn into 3 nights.
So me and, listen, no grassing, children are watching this. No, we had, but what it is
I stayed for breakfast, you went home, didn't come back the next day. I got the red room.
Yeah, of course, man, yeah.
You sleep in the red room, and I was like, wow, what's the red room?
It's amazing house, but Keith and Ronnie, they were sort of, they're meddling about with the guitars and all that, so we're sort of, you got 2 people that, you know, they're one of the best guitarists in the world, aren't they? You know, they've been going forever. Ronnie's played in so many different bands, him with the Stone, and he just asked us to play snooker, you know, and they've been playing guitars for us. Who are we to say no? And we've had 10 frames and had something like 8 or 9 centuries, you know. Ronnie had 8 and I had 1. No, I think Ronnie had 6 and I had 3.
I remember you beat me up there.
No, but it was you know, it was an honour to you know, to entertain two people who entertain a lot of people themselves.
Yeah, they've got a good life, Ronnie and Jimmy White. Well, they've got an interesting life. Jimmy's had it hard at various stages.
Yeah,
He had some bad addictions.
Yeah.
But he's another one. He seems to be another one sunny side up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's survived quite a lot.
Yeah.
He had a bad crack problem at one point that he was talking about.
Yeah, that's right. Jay's been through it.
Yeah.
Ronnie as well. I think Ronnie referenced a couple of mental health issues as well, a bit of depression and stuff like that. He kind of has a constant battle with him a little bit.
Yeah.
He's another Essex boy. He's not too far from me over in England, yeah, but he's an intro. I've had him on the radio a little bit, Ronnie. I quite like him. He's quite engaging.
Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Personality-wise, yeah. He doesn't do. I'm surprised he doesn't do a little bit more radio.
He's a bit aloof, I guess. He's not really interested in that sort of stuff. But
I don't know what
he's very engaged. He's very engaged when he's doing stuff.
Yeah. When he's into something, I think,
yeah,
he likes the sport, I think, by all accounts. You know, from little that I've heard of him, and I've heard him saying, "Oh, yeah, I do really enjoy this. I don't do a lot." I don't know. It's a lack of confidence, maybe. It's one of those strange things. He's so good in his own individual sport, but maybe lacking a little bit of confidence out of that.
It's got to be hard, though, doesn't it?
Zone.
To take to the table every single day to maintain your professional standards. It's got to wear you down mentally after a while, doesn't it? Just the same thing over and over again every day. Like, there's only so many flights, so many hotel rooms, so many like tournaments that you can actually take, and always just getting yourself up for whatever the Masters or the World Championships, and even that must like kind of fester in some sort of monotony in your mind as well. Eventually, it's not easy.
Yeah, but some people handle it better on, don't they? Some people just quite complex in terms of their personality and stuff. And the Sullivan Strokes is one of those you mentioned there in terms of keeping that high level performance. You drop below that, the frustrations of actually drop below that, not being able to maintain that level more so than anybody. He seems to be one of them. He gets totally fed up. He just can't stand it if he's not playing to a certain level. Hence, you see him. He just throw games. He's not interested. He'll walk. You know, this type of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Because he finds it difficult to play in those circumstances. Somebody maybe you might say a little bit mentally stronger players, like Henry or Davises, could play when they're not at their best. They accept it. Mentally so strong, they kind of plough through it. He's just a totally, supremely talented, but just a different beast.
Marcelo Bielsa has been named the new Leeds manager. Bielsa, obviously, the godfather of a particular style of football. He was at Leeds, Lazio, Marseille, Bilbao, Chile. From 07 to 2011, Argentina from 98 to 2004, and all the way back to Vélez Sarsfield's America, Atlas and Newell's Old Boys. This is a big name. This is like a club
it's a huge name, and maybe people may not realise, but it's only because of how highly thought as he is by people who are very high in the game themselves, how highly they speak of him. The likes of, obviously, Pochettino of late has kind of talked him up, and I mean talked him up. He, literally in terms of this man is a god, like he's a deity in terms of a coach, kind of stroke manager. So it'd be interesting to get on the training pitch and see exactly how he operates, how he kind of sets his team up tactically.
3-1 is what he masterminded, and ended up being a 4-3-3 he took Bilbao to the Europa League final in 2012. Certainly, so just looking at his coaching tree: Tata Martino, Pochettino, Simeone, Almeida, Eduardo Berizzo, Maurizio Pellegrino, and Marcelo Gallardo. Pep Guardiola also credits Bielsa as his tactical inspiration and called him the best manager in the world in 2012.
And Pochettino's gone on the record about that previously, and they may be just links on a list there, but Pochettino genuinely credits Bielsa for the way he thinks about football, for giving him an education as well as a chance in a first team or whatever it might have been at the time. So he is a godfather is probably an apt way of describing it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, some people say the best managers operate at the very best clubs, but sometimes these kind of groundbreakers, like they operate underneath the radar. Very, very, very rarely actually maybe get to the top of the tree. Maybe that's not their kind of motivation in some respects, but yeah, they're clearly hugely respected and admired within within the football community.
Yeah, loads of players. And that's just from his Wikipedia page, but loads of people are crediting him with their change. Batistuta says he taught him how to train. Fernando Llorente said he's a bit of a pain in the hole at the start, but then you realise he's a genius. Benjamin Mendy, says that he got good at Marseille because of the training. Leeds have really got themselves organised. They announced that the San Francisco 49ers had taken a minority stake just recently, and the 49ers are unbelievably progressive and well run now, when it looked like they weren't going to be for ages. But the guy that they've taken on the board is like this genius mastermind who gets all the best contracts in American sport at the moment, and they're always team friendly. So you could expect Leeds to be well run financially. They've just got a superstar coach. They have a massive tradition and heritage, and so they're in an unbelievably competitive division. But if I was a Leeds fan, I'd be pretty excited.
Yeah, there's been so many false dawns there over the last couple of years, and Leeds is a great club. Used to love going there and playing me football. The stadium, I mean, it's a massive club. Look, they've no divine right to be in the Premier League. They've got to earn it. But it looks as if, like you're saying, you're suggesting there finally they might be on the right path. And when you appoint someone like Bielsa, it's almost like you're really making a commitment to somebody. Some managers have gone in there in the past, you thought, be surprised he's there in a year. This type of appointment, you think, well, you're really making a commitment to somebody here to really kind of change the kind of football and culture.
And they just need to make sure that if the first 6 months are difficult, that it's not all the eggs aren't in it Villa style, where it's playoffs or bust. It's like, actually, no, we're here for the long haul. We're going to give this guy 18 months, and at that point, we'll actually become a proper team.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Okay, so I just want to bring you these some tweets. The big news for today is that Mohamed Salah is actually going to be fit for Egypt against Uruguay. Kenny, every year and everyone is fine, and Merry Christmas to us all. I'm not sure that Microsoft are translating accurately from the Arabic there. I don't think Mo Salah is celebrating Christmas today.
Right, when you explained that to me earlier, I thought you said that Mo Salah had actually tweeted the words Merry Christmas to everybody. So, no, it's a technical
If he did, he's
fault.
certainly not fit to play today.
It is Eid Mubarak. It is essentially his Christmas. So maybe that's what Microsoft thinks. Maybe they kind of culturally appropriated the feast of Eid and said, you know what that means? In English, people would refer to that as Christmas. Let's go with that.
Yeah, good work there, Microsoft. Really, it's like, what was the line? How are you, fellow kids? From Steve Buscemi.
How do you do, fellow kids?
How do you do, fellow kids? It's a bit Microsoft pulling that line there. So the fans were going nuts yesterday. The Russia-Saudi Arabia fans were just happy that they'd made it to World Cup. There's plenty of... I mean, it all looks peaceful now. 10 seconds later, is there a bit of booing going on?
Looks a bit odd to me.
It's just a bit of crack.
Are they paid? They look as if they've been broad. Just start bouncing something down last 5 minutes. Just get this on camera and broadcast it.
There's loads of
successful
footage.
World Cup ever. Kevin Kilbane's in the middle of that. Look, unbelievable.
There was footage of Bear playing a vuvuzela in the back of it. I mean, did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I presume it was fake, but
apparently the vuvuzela has got some sort of Russian equivalent.
Connection. Oh, equivalent.
Yeah, and it's not actually a wind instrument at all. It's just spoons, wooden spoons. That's apparently what we're going to hear all World Cup. But we didn't hear any of it last night, so probably not.
Overhyped. I'm selling that pre-World Cup narrative. Okay, so then this is the last thing that we're going to play today. It is the midpoint of the Conor McGregor in the US court system story. There's 2 quick videos for you here. It's Audiatar and Conor McGregor.
Want to say anything?
I mean, today we're here to focus on court. We're not going to focus on any future plans until we handle this matter. And right now we're in good negotiations with the district attorney, so we're going to focus on that, and then we'll focus on the future later.
July 26th, should this be wrapped up?
Should be. Hope so.
Between now and then, will they not talk to you about his next fight?
We're going to keep all that right now in the back burner and really focus on this matter only, and we'll focus on all that other stuff later.
Can you tell us what the details are of the plea agreement?
Can't tell you.
All right.
That's Audiatar there, McGregor's manager, talking about what happens next, and they're saying that they're not going to organise a fight until the next court hearing, which will apparently be the end of the court hearings. That was from MMA Fighting, that video, MMAfighting.com, and yet they are going to meet Dana White in 2 days' time, so you would expect that they'll do a deal and a fight will be arranged and that fight will be announced the day after he gets off from court with some community service.
He wouldn't be doing your job if you weren't having those conversations. I wouldn't have thought behind the scenes. He's saying the right things there, paying respect to the courts and, yakety yak, but when he talks.
We all know the truth.
Yeah.
Here's McGregor's statement from Chizanga Malata's Twitter.
I'll get it now.
Do you want to say anything?
I mean, today we're here to focus on court. We're not going to focus on any future plans until we handle this matter. And right now we're in good negotiations.
So that is Audio-Tar saying exactly the same thing again.
I think it was important we heard that again. I think it was important we heard that again.
I was going to say Audio-Tar and Conor McGregor have been spending a little bit too much time together.
Yeah. What about the tweet from RTE's New York American correspondent?
Brian O'Donovan put up a tweet last night, of course, who naturally was covering this yesterday as RT's correspondent, and it's like, here's Conor McGregor fans out in force to show their support for their favourite superstar or whatever, and it was just a picture of some average Joe seemingly holding like 2 cardboard plaques saying "Free Conor" and stuff like that. And
Conor McGregor does what the fook he likes.
Exactly.
FOOK.
And it turns out it's Brian O'Donovan isn't a fan of Barstool Sports, which, to be fair, is probably a good trait to have. And he didn't realise it was one of their, I wouldn't say a publicity stunt, but one of their guys.
It totally was, it was one of their guys. So it's like us sending Owen down to, stand outside the FAI headquarters when the news comes through about Lopetegui and go, make out or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And having the national broadcaster say genuine fans
I did feel like we were getting a little insight into the Ireland setup circa 2002 in the middle of Saipan when you and Kev were going back and forth about whether or not this had any impact on the Spanish team. It was like, this is what it would have been like to be a fly on the wall as Kenny and Kev are having their conversations about what's going on there now.
It's a weak link, isn't it? That's a weak link. Little or no comparison there whatsoever. I've heard it made over the past couple of days, but I don't think it stands up.
Yeah.
No connection, no similarities.
Very little.
A massive crisis enveloping the entire country.
You can't spell Saipan without Spain, Kenny, as they say.
Here is McGregor's statement.
I regret my actions that led me here today. I understand the seriousness of this matter, and I'm hopeful that it gets resolved soon. Thank you, everyone.
Conor, when are you going to fight again? Conor, do you feel bad? Conor, do you feel bad?
It's like when you've got to go up to the top of class and spell Bumblebee. It's like da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. Correct, sit down, next student up.
Yeah, there's nothing else going on there, really. Okay, so some Jose Mourinho stuff next? I've no idea what this is.
Yeah, it was good. But before the match, we were speaking about the Russians to be so pessimistic, and I don't think you don't have a reason to be super optimistic. Be happy, good victory, good score. Who knows that the goals can be important in case, for example, you finish with the same number of points, let's say Egypt. But not to be so optimistic because disappointed me. I watched them against Germany. I know it was a friendly, but against Germany they look better than today. They did fine because they used their strength. They were compact defensively. They tried to find some weaknesses. They scored a couple of goals in the first half, and then game over. It was just to control.
He's not an amazing pundit, is he? There's not much crack there.
Yeah, that might work in the press room at Old Trafford, but on the kind of World Cup stage, He needs to take a leaf out of Kevin Kilbane's book, doesn't he? He hasn't read the same brochure Kev's read, clearly.
Is there a pre-punditry brochure? Is there kind of like pre-marital courses? Is there pre-punditry courses which help you into that phase of your life?
Yeah, I probably should have enlisted in a few of them in all honesty.
Oh, there you go. There they are. Mourinho is a little guy. Putin must be titchy. So that's obviously Mourinho working for Russia today. Not connected to the Kremlin.
The background guys are...
Just seems so contrived, those photos of Putin. You almost feel as if you're being used and abused a little bit.
Totally, yeah.
You know what I mean? It just, would you allow yourself to be used in that way? It's kind of...
Well, you're not being used when you've been given however much he's been given.
By Putin, though. I mean, Russia.
Well, indirectly, by the broadcaster, I suppose indirectly you could argue by Putin, but I suppose it goes hand in glove. If you take on that job, then
Is it like kind of, is there an interesting sort of love triangle going on here between Vladimir Putin, Jose Mourinho and Roman Abramovich? Is this like Jose Mourinho's revenge against Abramovich, saying, I see you're struggling with your relations with the head of your estate. Well, I'm going to cozy up to him, Roman, and he's going to become my best friend.
He's got more problems with the Home Office, Abramovich, than he does with Putin, I think, at the moment.
I think so, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens there, and if he still owns Chelsea at the end of the off-season or next season. Right, to play us out today, we have a very special Saturday panel coming up from Ballyhale Shamrocks. Fair to say one of the most successful, if not the most successful hurling club in the country over the last 3 or 4 decades. Obviously Portumna right there with them as well, and a few others, but they are having a fundraiser at the moment. Nathan was down to find out what the crack is with that. Kenny, thanks very much for joining us. It's been great having you here.
Thank you. Thanks for
enjoy the rest of the World Cup, and best of luck to Rory McIlroy at 125 to 1 he is now, which is much better odds than the 50 to 1 you got him at.
I haven't given up on him.
You may as well go in and put in €1 on
Rory. Anything's possible.
A big day for us here, coming up at 12:30. At 12 o'clock, the earlier time of 12 o'clock, high noon for Owen. It is World Cup Daily in association with Boyle Sports.
Yeah, team news immediately at the very top of the show. Egypt, Uruguay will only be an hour away at that point. Preview of Spain, Portugal. We'll be going over to John Duggan, of course, who is going to be somewhere in Moscow.
The hurling show's coming up at 1 o'clock. Shane Stapleton's going to be joined in studio alongside Jamie Wall and Darragh Honan, slightly later time of 1 o'clock, but that's a great show. Brilliant lineup there. Jamie Wall and Darragh Honan both in studio. Tonight, the Crappy Quiz, the latest from Russia, and Brian O'Driscoll in studio ahead of the game tomorrow against Australia. But to play us out, as I said, the Saturday panel is coming from Ballyhale Shamrocks. Here's Nathan previewing the whole thing.
We're here in Ballyhale, County Kilkenny, home of Ballyhale Shamrocks, the most successful club hurling team in the country. 15 Kilkenny County titles, 7 Leinster titles and 6 All-Ireland club hurling titles. They have produced a remarkable 7 different All-Ireland hurling winning captains with Kilkenny, and arguably the greatest hurler of all time. How have Ballyhale managed it? Let's go find out.
Tommy, I'm not sure how keen you're going to be to blow smoke up your brother's ass, but go on, talk to us about growing up and maybe the games you would have had together. Was there always a sense that, yeah, he's a little bit better than everyone else around?
Yeah, like...
You taught him everything he knows, I presume?
Well, no, I won't say that now. But no, like, when we were growing up, like, I'm 9 years older than him, and then I had a brother next to me, was John, so the two of us were probably, and we grew up in a pub and a farm, and we were 2 older brothers, so naturally enough we did all the work. So Henry and Paul then were Paul was a year younger than Henry, so they kind of came up and like they got the easy side of the brush, because like we used to do all the farm work, and we'd then go from the farm to the pub, and the boys probably they got away with murder, like, so they got it easier than we did. That's for definite. Like,
we just need to get this off the ground, and we need to start getting funds in. Like,
yeah,
we, as you can see, we do need to upgrade, and well, we will. Everyone's sakes, this is the start of it, and we're going to continue. Like, we'll get this project over. Like, but it's a great opportunity. Like, you know, I can go back to growing up in the 70s and 80s and listen to the great Kerry team, the Kerry names, Mike Sheehy, all these lads, and you'd love to just even see them somewhere. But this is an opportunity for kids to come and actually be coached by these guys, you know. So if people think about it, it's absolutely a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah,
you know.
Give us the website again.
www.hurlingwiththestars.com.
Alright, great stuff. We'll put the details up on offtheball.com as well, because there is still a few weeks left to enter. Thanks a million for having us, Mary. Thanks a lot for showing us around and for all the hospitality at home as well.
Just give this to yourself and Niall. We did this on the launch night, and basically it's signed by all our captains here in the club. So you have Henry, Liam Fendley, Chaff Fitzpatrick, Joey Holden, Ger Fendley and Michael Fendley. So it's all our captains that came from Ballyhale.
Well, we will give it pride of place in our new Off the Ball studio. Brilliant. So you'll be able to see it up there. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. As I say, thank you all for your time, for your hospitality.
I'll give you a Hurling with Stars t-shirt as well, Nathan.
Extra large, I hope.
Don't take it off. Medium tight.
I know you're only playing junior hurling, but I still won't fit into that one, unfortunately.
OTB AM.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.